Hello gardener! June marks the official start of summer, and with it comes a whole new set of challenges in the garden, from intense heat and drought to sudden downpours and high humidity. So in this video, I'm sharing 10 essential June garden task tips or reminders that will help your plants not just survive, but stay strong and productive through the toughest weather of the season. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Jara. I've been gardening all of my life, and I'm a professional seed and plant nursery. I love to share my knowledge and teach others how to garden and grow food, so you've come to the right place if you want to improve your gardening skills. Okay, let's get started. My first garden task is to start indoor gardening. June heat can be absolutely brutal, especially for cool weather crops like lettuce, spinach, and cilantro. These plants don't just struggle, they bolt, wither, or just completely evaporate overnight during the summer, especially if you're gardening in a subtropical or tropical climate. That's why this is the perfect time to start indoor gardening. I've got a few containers set up by a windowsill, and I'm also using a hydroponic kit that sits on my kitchen counter. Most windows don't provide enough light to grow vegetables indoors, so whatever your setup, I highly recommend adding supplemental lighting. I'm a huge fan of Mars Hydro grow lights, so I simply set one at the top of the trellis that came with this planter to grow cherry tomatoes indoors. Or if shopping for a new kit, choose one that has grow lights included. This kit came with full spectrum adjustable grow lights. I planted herbs and lettuce, and I'm so excited to have fresh greens for my salads, something I just can't grow outside right now due to the heat. Plus, there's something incredibly satisfying about keeping something green and thriving indoors year-round. It's cooler, more controlled, and a lot easier to manage things like humidity and pests compared to the summer garden chaos that is happening outside right now. Task number 2 is to set up shade cloth. In summer, the sun can actually be too much for some warm season crops. Even though peppers, eggplants, and tomatoes like heat, they can't get sun scald and drop flowers, which means they can't produce fruit when temperatures get too high. High heat stresses plants out, causing their immune systems to weaken, which makes them easy targets for pests and diseases. Install some 40% shade cloth over these crops to protect them from the harsh sun and just drop the temperature by a few degrees. If you can get the plants to survive the heat, they will start flowering and producing again once temperatures cool down later in fall. Last summer was the first time I actually tried using shade cloth, and my plants fared so much better. You don't have to put shade cloth over everything, just focus on the crops that keep wilting in the middle of the day despite having enough water in the soil, or the ones that drop flowers because of the heat. Task number 3 is to move European or Mediterranean types of herbs into some shade for the summer. If you're growing traditional Mediterranean herbs like oregano, thyme, rosemary, or even sage, they struggle a lot in intense heat. Mediterranean herbs are adapted to warm and dry climates, not extreme heat or humid, rainy climates. I like to grow these herbs in containers or grow bags so I can move them into partial shade, into my screened porch, or indoors for the rest of the summer. This helps protect their roots from rotting due to too much rain, reduces diseases, especially the fungal ones, and helps them survive until things cool down in fall. You'll notice the plants stay bushier and healthier when they're not drowning or baking in the midday sun. Garden task number 4 has to do with nematode management. Root knot nematodes are a big problem for southern gardeners where it doesn't get cold enough during the winter to kill them. They are the most active during the summer, so you might want to consider putting parts of your garden to rest by planting a nematocidal or resistant cover crop to reduce their population and improve the soil in time for fall planting. Some favorite nematocidal cover crops include sun hemp, which is what I am using, marigolds, and sorghum sundengrass. These cover crops grow fast in summer heat, shade the soil, suppress weeds, and provide a lot of biomass to incorporate back into the soil. For this to work, you must terminate the cover crop right before it starts flowering and producing seed. You can mow over it or use a weed whacker. Then all of the cover crop plant matter has to be tilled into the soil so it can break down and release the chemicals or compounds within them that kill or suppress nematodes into the soil. It is not good enough to just plant these cover crops and remove them later. The plant matter has to be tilled into the soil. For small backyard gardeners, this can be challenging because we don't have machinery or tractors to till the soil like farmers do. And a lot of us garden in raised beds, so it's kind of hard to till with some sort of machine. Your options are to rent or purchase a small tiller or manually till the soil with a pitchfork. Doesn't sound fun, but cover cropping is a necessary practice to keep nematode populations down. If you don't do anything about it, they will quickly take over your garden and you won't be able to grow anything. If any of you have easy ways to terminate cover crops and till them into the soil for those of us without machinery or tractors, please comment below and share. Tip number 5 has to do with one of the most common diseases you will see in the garden, and that is blight on your tomatoes. For the majority of the United States, tomatoes are a summer crop, so a lot of you are growing them right now in June. Not me though. My tomato season has ended. If you garden in a subtropical or tropical climate, you should be growing tomatoes during the fall, winter, and spring, not the summer. But anyways, the rest of you in normal temperate climates are growing tomatoes right now. You will get get blight at some point, which will affect production, so let me prepare you on how to combat it. Blight is a fungus that spreads on the surface of the leaves. It starts off as a yellowing of the leaves. The yellow areas then dry out and turn brown. Spray the plants with 1 cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide per gallon of water every 3 to 5 days and stop once you notice the spread of blight starts to decrease. You will see less yellow infected leaves. Hydrogen peroxide kills many types of pathogens like fungus and mold, so that's why it's effective against blight. Garden tip number 6 is to plant more perennial edible crops in your garden. I can't tell you how much I rely on perennial crops like my fruit trees, for example, to provide harvestable food during the summer when I can't grow a lot of annual veggie crops. Perennial edibles are also more reliable because they don't have as many pests or disease issues when compared to annual crops. Choose perennials that are native to your area and climate so you know that they will thrive without much effort. In tropical climates, plant things like moringa, katuk, chaya, and fruiting trees and plants like pineapples, avocados, and bananas. Most of the United States can plant some sort of muscadine grape, mulberry, blackberry, or fig. Colder climates can plant currants, raspberries, and apples, for example. June is a great month to get them in the ground while the rains are starting and the soil is warm. You're basically building a low-effort food forest that pays off for years to come. I have a bunch of affordable starter plants for perennial edibles on my website. Speaking of fruit trees, my next garden task, tip number 7, is a reminder to prune your peach and nectarine trees after you're done harvesting. Most varieties of peaches and nectarines are done producing and are harvested all out by the month of June. Summer pruning helps shape the tree, remove weak or unproductive wood, and encourages healthy growth for next year's fruiting. I typically prune about 1/3 to a half of the tree to open up the canopy, which improves air circulation and keeps my trees short, which is easier for me to manage. I'll link my peach pruning tutorial in the description if you want to see exactly how I do it. Number 8 is a garden reminder. June marks the start of hurricane season, and that means it's time to prep the garden before storms arrive. When a hurricane is coming, the last thing you want to worry about on top of preparing your house is the garden too. So just get it ready. I go around and check all my trellises, tie up any leaning plants, and move fragile potted plants to more protected spots. I also make sure drainage areas are clear, my French drain openings are clean, and that I have emergency supplies like tarps, extra mulch, and plant ties on hand. Being proactive now can save you a lot of heartbreak later. A strong storm can do a lot of damage if your garden's not secure. Garden task number 9 is to plant or pot up orchids. June is a great time to plant and grow flowering orchids or vanilla, which by the way is a type of orchid. When the flower dies back, the vanilla bean pod forms, and that is what gets harvested. The warm temperatures and high humidity of June are exactly what orchids love. However, orchids are a little different than most plants, especially when it comes to their roots. They grow what are called aerial roots, which means they're designed to absorb moisture and nutrients from the air, not from traditional soil. Plant them in an orchid mix, which is typically made of chunky materials like bark, charcoal, and perlite. This allows plenty of airflow around the roots, which is exactly what they need to stay healthy. Regular soil or potting mix holds on to too much water for an orchid's preference, which causes root rot and the entire plant dies. I either plant them in containers filled with orchid mix and put them in some sort of a hanger like these macrame plant hangers, or plant them in basket planters made specifically for growing orchids. Put them in a spot with filtered light, good humidity, and something to climb up on, and they'll thrive, eventually rewarding you with stunning blooms or even some vanilla bean pods. And the last garden task tip or reminder, tip number 10, is to enjoy your spring harvest. If you're gardening in a warm or tropical climate, you're probably wrapping up your spring harvest right about now in June. It's time to preserve what you've worked so hard to grow so none of it goes to waste. I like to let bean pods dry on the plant to collect seeds, can tomatoes into sauce. I'll link my tomato sauce tutorial in the description, and dehydrate squash slices to use later in soups and stews. I also like to preserve my herbs by drying bunches for later use or freezing them in ice cube trays with oil for easy cooking portions. Another favorite method is infusing them in bottles of olive oil to create flavorful herb-infused oils, perfect for dressings, marinades, or gifts. I have some tutorials and more coming out soon over on my Jera's Fresh Kitchen YouTube channel with lots of recipes and homemade products that use things from the garden, so check it out for more ideas. That wraps up my top 10 tasks for June, all focused on helping your garden thrive through the heat, humidity, and changing conditions of the season. Whether you're planting perennials, managing pests, or preserving your spring harvest, there's still so much you can do to stay productive and connected to your garden this month. If you found this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more monthly gardening tips. I'd love to hear what you're working on in your garden this June. Just drop a comment below and let's share some ideas. Happy gardening, and I'll see you in the next video.